Hello, my noble band of outlaws. Outlaw Samurai coming at you with a live video. Well, I know it's been forever since I've done a live stream. And what does this mean? Is the Outlaw Samurai show going to come back? Well, the reason I haven't done any live streams for a while is I couldn't really think of any interesting topics to discuss for the roughly hour and a half to 2 hours of my live stream was on, and I just haven't really been motivated to do a live stream. So with me, I really have to be motivated to do something, like a lot of people out there. But I digress. So you're probably wondering, what's with the pot with the measuring instruments? Well, today I'm going to attempt an experiment using this Griffin ginger beer. Now, before any of you say anything, no, this is not alcoholic. This is a ginger ale, basically. A little bit of a history lesson. So, when ginger ale was first created, it wasn't called ginger ale. It was called ginger beer. As far as I know, it was called this because it resembled more of a beer in color and fizziness than it did an ale. I don't know when it started to be called ginger ale. There are still many companies who call it ginger beer. Griffin being one of them. So, today, I thought, since I don't have any more freshly prepared pumpkin, because I let it go in my refrigerator too long and it turned bad, I thought, what if I combined the classic pumpkin bread with the ginger beer and just substitute the ginger beer for the pumpkin puree? We're going to see how well that turns out. But for the moment, we need to get our dry ingredients together. So everyone grab your baking buckets. And if you don't have a baking bucket, you're doing something wrong. Now then, wipe the dust off your baking bucket. First things first is that you need a recipe. Mine just so happens to be my great-grandmother's. And she has single, double, and triple loaves. We're only going to, since this is a test and I don't have that much ginger beer on hand, we're only going to make the single recipe. So that calls, I probably should turn this fan off so I don't get flour everywhere.
Did I hear you say you had a baby? He didn't say no bad words.
Sorry about that. Unintentional joke from Outlaw Granny. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. So, first, 2 cups of flour. Now, most people, they don't really pack the flour into the cup. They'll just put it in there and then level it off with a knife. I like to pack it in to make sure you get the full 2 cups. That'll also come important later on once we get to the sugars. Now, 2 cups of flour. And 1 cup of sugar. Just kind of shake it a little bit to even it out. If you get a little excess sugar in here, it's fine, especially since the ginger ale we're using in this recipe is somewhat spicy. Now, in theory, you could use any ginger ale you want, but I prefer the stronger ginger ales like Sprecher, Griffin, and nobody comment about what I'm about to say because it's an actual ginger ale brand, a brand called Cock and Bull, which is the strongest spicy ginger ale that I've come across. It's a brand you can get at Kroger's that some people, especially some of my Aunt Outlaw Wickens friends, swear to whatever Lord or God they pray to that it is that it is alcoholic when it's not. I can chug those things. In fact, she has to hide them every time I go over to her house because I'm constantly drinking them. All right. Now we get into a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And this is why you need a baking bucket that has a good lid on it, because that way you don't have to put the brown sugar in a Ziploc bag.
Wow.
Now,
Told you not to do it.
what most people don't do when they measure out brown sugar is they won't push it down and condense it till it's flat. You have to do this because unlike flour and granulated sugar, brown sugar clumps up like an SOB. If you're going to go through already. Once again, my uncle being a Grinch. Now then, after the 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon cinnamon. That's a tablespoon. I'm an idiot. And for anyone asks, no, Outlaw is not doing the cinnamon challenge. Today. I'm not doing it today. Some of the stupid challenges I see online, I really don't consider all that bad, like eating a teaspoon of cinnamon straight. Sure, it's not exactly the wisest idea if you don't want to cough your damn head off, but it's not exactly like it's going to kill you. Then we have 1 teaspoon nutmeg. Sure, yep. Now, for context, if you don't have nutmeg on hand, you can actually just double down on pumpkin pie spice because it is an ingredient, because nutmeg is an ingredient in it. If you watch the YouTube channel Townsend, I swear that dude's addicted to this shit. Okay. Nutmeg, 1 teaspoon baking soda. And make sure not to confuse the baking soda for the baking powder, because I've done that before. It's really easy when you don't pay attention. For those of you who also don't know, who don't do a lot of baking, or if this is your first time being in charge of producing the baked goods for the family gathering, an easy way to make sure you get a level scoop is this little metal lip inside the can. That's what it's there for. You just push and slide the spoon over that metal lip, and it gives you a perfectly level scoop of powder. Baking soda also has that little scoop, but it's a little more tricky to get a perfect level. Baking soda. Next, we need a half a teaspoon of salt, which I gotta go in here for. Now here's something I should stress. You're seeing me eyeball some of this shit. And that's because I've been baking for the last 10 years of my life. I really started when I was 14, and now I'm 24, almost 25. So I've been doing this for a good long while, so I have the ability to kind of eyeball some of the ingredients using only 1 scoop. If this is your first time, I highly recommend using the scoop that is recommended for the portion size of the ingredient needed for the recipe. All right. Now, that takes care of all of our dry ingredients. So, first things first, we need to pack up all the dry goods and put them back in our baking bucket. Because now, for the baking bucket, which you can get these at your local Menards for about $3. The lid, $1.50. Now you're probably wondering, Outlaw, why are you putting the dry ingredients in one pot and you're going to make the wet ingredients in another container? Well, this is because separating your wets and your dries actually helps you get a more even and consistent end product. Especially in this instance where it's going to be more of a batter than a dough. So let's see here. First, we need 1 cup of pumpkin pie filling. This is where our ginger ale comes into play. One cup of ginger ale. 1 bottle for the chef. Half a cup of oil. And finally, A fourth of a cup. A fourth of a cup. A fourth of a teaspoon of water. Almost forgot. I knew there was something else. 2 eggs. I'll be right back. Bam. Now you're probably asking, Outlaw, why are you getting paper towels out? It's a makeshift plate for the eggshells. Ugh. Two eggs. Now, to avoid overcarborization, I should say. First, you get your hand mixer out. And depending on which side is which, is where you put your beaters. Put it on its lowest setting. And just beat until the egg is combined with that. I'll be right back. Next, we whisk our dry ingredients together. Then we add to the mixture. Set it on lowest setting. And incorporate. Add the rest. and incorporate. Now, that is mixed, we'll take a loaf pan. I bought these in advance. Back when I was planning on making a over the god amount of pumpkin bread. So, first we take our pie pan, or in this case, bread pan, and we coat it evenly in Crisco. Now, you can use Pam, you can use, honestly, olive oil I found to work very well. But no, Crisco's the way my mama did it, and that's the way I do it. There's a trick to doing it. Take a piece of paper towel, fold it up, scoop out a generous bit of Crisco. And since these aren't hard tins, you have to be gentle with it, but just smear that Crisco all over. You don't want to use too much, but you do want to make sure it gets a generous coating. So that it doesn't stick. When you pour it in to said pan. You can tell how well lubricated that is. Now, I'm going to set our oven to 350 degrees for 50 minutes. Or roughly an hour. So first things first, if you use your oven for storage, like we do, bake, start. Oh, while I'm at it, get yourself a spatula. Now that our beaters have dripped clean, take them off. Of course, a holiday tradition of licking the beaters. And for anyone who comments something about eating raw dough or raw egg or whatever, know that I don't care. It's a little thicker than it normally is when I make it. Mm. Mm. Oh. Honestly, firstly, I don't even say you have to bake this. You can eat it as is and it'll just be fine. Freeze this shit and call it pumpkin spice ice cream. Mm. Yeah. So now all it is a simple waiting game until the oven's ready to bake, and then 50 minutes. Now I'm not going to make you sit through an almost 3-hour-long live stream waiting for bread to be done. So I'll make an actual YouTube video when the bread is done and post that as a continuation of this. So until next time, my noble band of outlaws, Outlaw Samurai tells all y'all be crazy rednecks, be safe, use your weapons, and if you're wondering, this is the kind of color that you should be aiming for with this recipe. It's usually a tad bit dark, but that's usually because the pumpkin kind of adds its own orange coloring into it. So, I'm out. Peace.